Tonight, we are joined in our panel by Jeannie Zaino, political science professor from Iona College, Dominic Carter, political journalist blogger, Wendy Sloan, as you met before, celebrity news producer and radio host, and our senior political correspondent, Andrew Whitman, who will be starring in his own reality TV series.
Huge reality show.
Absolutely. All right. Listen, anybody who says, oh my God, how horrible, I've watched some of this stuff. Everybody watch this stuff?
I have. I like the cooking ones.
Oh, the Top
Chef
I can't
or whatever?
Cook, yeah.
But I love to watch them.
Just a little bit.
Just a little.
You can't get away from it. I mean, we keep TVs on in the newsroom with the different channels, and it's on 2 or 3 local channels at a time.
You know, I just watching the fallout from this story and the comments that you hear now post fact about. Is it people love this stuff because they say, you know, I'm better off than that clown, or they like to see train wrecks, or people, as much as they say they don't like some of the humiliation that comes along with it, do they really want to aspire to be the people that I just saw in that clip in the Beverly? What's the big appeal? Can you put your finger on it, Wendy, why people tune in week after week to be watching these people? Like, for crying out loud, the Jersey Shore. Like, why do people watch that? More people watch that show than any other program by far in the history of MTV. Is there any, like, people document what the real overriding reason they tune in is?
I think from what everyone tells me is that it's kind of like they get out of their own life and they go into somebody else's life and they get to enjoy that for a little while. I don't personally get it, but people want it. They want it. They watch it.
I feel like it summarizes our entire approach to celebrity in our society right now, which is we like to see people plucked out of nowhere who all of a sudden become famous and they're everywhere, and it's a shared experience. We can all talk about it at some point. And then as soon as they reach that level, oh, we love to tear them down. And we love to point out their flaws. We love to see them make mistakes so that we can talk about those mistakes, and everybody sits around and chats about it again. We do that with celebrities on every single level. This is just creating a new level of celebrity solely for their disposability like this.
But as we see from the situation, this is not a game. And to answer your question, Richard, and I'm so glad you have Wendy here, an expert who's in the business that can explain how this goes down. What this is all about, everybody wants to be a star. Everybody wants their 15 minutes of fame.
And you don't even have to have a skill anymore.
No skill. Yeah. We've dumbed things down as a society, but here's where the problem is. You don't get on television being a regular person. And so there are producers there, so you'll give them your answer. And they'll say, well, you know, that doesn't really fly. Let's amp it up a little bit. Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? But you're talking about real lives. And it's horrible. It's horrible.
And one thing I wonder, I don't know, Wendy, if you can answer this, but you hear a lot of talk about producers giving people on these shows drugs and alcohol in particular, like the Real World shows and then
Jenny Jones show. It wasn't reality, but it was.
And you wonder how much those kids on some of those MTV shows look like they've been drinking for 3 years. When you look at some of them, and what
even something as silly as The Bachelorette, right? That show, they're loaded every week, right on camera. Right. And, what else I guess you're going to do? But, it's interesting. There was a graphic. If we could bring it up, guys. This was when asked about, what is the most emphasized value you see on TV. And they did this historically. They brought it up. I think this is B6 Eyes. Thank you. Is for children's TV even. What's the most important thing? Community feeling. In 67, 77, 97. And then in 2007, it's to become famous. The stuff's filtered down to the kids. And please, I'm not blaming reality TV for the world's problems. I'm not saying that at all. Except if people think, oh, it's just a guilty pleasure at night. I mean, my daughters loved the Project Runway, right? And they don't like it just for the outfits. They got the drama, they got everything else playing out there. And I don't find that, at least there's a skill associated with that program. But American Idol, everybody watches it. And what's the thing about that? You get to be plucked out, and 6 months later, you can be famous. You don't have to play an instrument, but you can be famous if you're a good karaoke singer. You think that's you let your kids watch it?
My kids do not watch those, although they watch plenty of, like, the, who's the girl, Hannah Montana, they used to watch that, and that was kind of based on kind of the idea that this was a little girl who became famous, those kinds of shows. They are not reality TV watchers, but I have watched them. I have to tell you, I've watched the cooking shows, I've watched Project Runway. I don't watch The Housewives for some reason, I just never got into those, but, I've watched them, my kids haven't, but you're absolutely right. It's very scary, and I wonder if there's a tie between the economy at all and the interest in these kind of reality TV shows, because I think Wendy's right. There is an escapist element. People have very difficult lives, and you do want to escape.
You know, Richard, to answer your question, my daughter does watch some of these things. She's 23 years old, and sometimes I have to say to her, young lady, that's not the real world. You know, sometimes she'll want to give me drama simply because she saw it on a television show. And I'm like, wait a minute. But you know, you mentioned something earlier, and I thought about the same thing. The show about the people recovering from drug addictions.
Rehab,
I think it's horrible that that's put on television. These people
How
are
about the teen moms?
at their lowest point ever.
I mean, people know them by name. I'm proud to say I don't, okay? But people know these kids by name. And if you think about it, what is a 17 or an 18-year-old kid without a job often, with a baby, unprepared for it, now you're going to stick a camera in front of her, right, and expect everything's going to turn out right? You think the networks have any responsibility in this? Or?
I do. I think they should take responsibility for it. I think they shouldn't do it. I personally don't love the reality television. I mean, I interview them.
Yeah.
Like the Marriage Ref, Jerry Seinfeld's new show. I've had a lot of them on. They're normal people. They're battling over. My husband has garbage.
For
and
something
they
else,
said their experience is wonderful, and they come out, they win money at the end. These people don't have money. So it's a good thing. They get a sign in their town, and they're heroes for a couple weeks. So that show I don't mind.
But it's not supposed to debasement, humiliate him, that show. A lot of the other ones, though, it's just like, oh, let's see what's going to happen to Snooki this week. And people like Crimea River, she's making millions, but she's branded basically, I can't even say what she's is for the general public.
But I want to go back to that study that you were talking about with the kids programming, because the other thing is kids are being exposed to so much more television these days and so much more video than even one generation ago. I mean, it's not only parking the kids in front of the TV while you're cooking dinner or as they learn something in a tape, but there's the videos in the cars on the back seats. I mean,
we watched a lot of crappy TV when we were kids.
We did, but there were a lot fewer choices, and it wasn't so. I mean, it wasn't on all the time. It wasn't quite as elevated in the house as it is today.
We were out in the streets playing.
Right, and that may be contributing to these. I mean, when these kids see reality television, that might be something that they want to achieve because they've been so inundated.
Because I got to wrap is, are we almost at a tipping point? I don't know how much more over the top they can really get with this. Is it almost an oversaturation, you think, where there's so much out there right now that people like bring back the sitcoms, bring back the dramas?
Gosh, I hope so, because I do miss some of the good shows, but it doesn't seem like it.
Yes, but as long as it's cheap to produce and the ratings are sky high, it will remain there.
I'm with you. I think there's going to be more reality television.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
And the internet is reality TV if you look for it.
So we can jump on board.
You should see what they do in the green room. All right, Wendy, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. All right, we're going to take a quick break.